All right, I saw that y'all enjoyed that other story about the one night stand, so I'm gonna actually tell you what happened with the first one that I ever had. And I really don't know, now that I'm thinking back on that first experience, not exactly sure why I continue to find myself in situations like this that I just was kind of okay with, but I really wasn't. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get y'all the story. You can see the view out here. Beautiful lake on a walk. But yeah, the story starts when I was a teenager. I was in high school. I was driving at the time. I was in my senior year. So this was about 2006, 2007-ish. You could probably figure out my age based on that. And so at that time, I was on the internet, and this is how I would meet girls that went to other high schools that were in my city. This is where everything started. Also, to give you some more context, I believe it sounds weird, but I believe one of the reasons I was able to do this and have so much freedom was because growing up and even in high school, I made good grades. I never got in trouble. So my mom just kind of let me do what I want to do as long as I don't get in trouble. And I never did. My whole life, all the way through grade school, never got in trouble. Never got suspended or anything. But I did experience a lot of girls in high school. And of course, nobody knew. I wasn't telling anybody except maybe my cousins or my friends would know some about it, or if some of the girls were my girlfriends, then other people would know if they were my girlfriend, but some of them just weren't. Now in high school, I was on the internet. I met this girl on I don't know what dating site there were, but there were so many, and I was on a lot at that time. So yeah, I was on the internet at this time at my teenage years, already on dating sites. And since my senior year, I drove a car. Oh, there's some ducks. My senior year, I drove a car, and she decided that she wanted to meet with me. We talked on the internet for about 1-2 nights maybe, and she was in high school also, but she went to a different one in my city. So then I drove to her house across the city. Took me about 20 minutes. And first thing is, this is something I was telling guys in the last video don't do, is I really didn't know much about her. I just knew what high school she went to, knew her name, and I knew that me and her, we were physically attracted to each other from our photos. And so from there, I pull up in the neighborhood. She tells me that I have to park like 3 houses down in a neighborhood that I'm not familiar with, never been to. I said, okay, can't park right in front of her yard. I do that, not thinking much of it, because like I said, this is one of the first situations I ever done something like this. And I'm guessing the reason that I wasn't too afraid, but I'm like, trying to be aware of my surroundings, is I grew up around, people in gangs and dangerous situation and around like hood people. So I just always felt confident that as long as I pay attention to my surroundings, I can handle most situations. And I guess that's just the way I felt as a teenager. So I wasn't really afraid. It was just like, oh, let's just make sure we're paying attention to everything. However, I wasn't thinking of certain things like whether I parked in the wrong spot, somebody's property, could I get shot? Or could my car get towed, whatever. I didn't really think about what are consequences of doing this. I wasn't thinking of consequences at all. I just thought, hey, I'll do this and I'll be fine. I went through a lot of life like that, even though like I was smart in school, a good student, all this stuff. I still just neglected thinking of consequences for stuff. So I was still like slightly like a rebellious person, but never, I guess it was like you never get caught type of thing. So I walked down to her house, 3 houses down. She opens the door and she's big. Somehow from the photos, I did not realize that she was big. And when I say big, I'm in high school, I was very skinny. I was 140 pounds. And right now, you can see I got a little bit of muscle. You can see a little bit of muscle here. You see my other photos, I got abs basically. I'm 172 pounds right now. High school, I was 140, so I was skinny. About the same height. Now, when I say big, I mean, she was 300. Yeah, now that I've had experience being a personal trainer for 10 years and understanding how people, like, I could look at somebody and really guess their weight really well. I didn't think of it at the time, but she was 300. And that was surprising to me because I did not expect that, because I didn't know how to gauge women pictures back then. Think about 2006, 2007. If you're a teenager, you didn't know how women strategically took their photos so you can't tell they're big. You know that, like, they do the same thing still to this day, but guys kind of know. They'll have, you'll have your photos, they'll have the photos where it's just a lot of pretty face shots. Like, you're like, dang, this girl's cute or looking good. And they'll just have just like face shots, no whole body shots strategically. But then they'll have like a top boob shot where you can see that they've got a big chest. They're showing that in just the face, and you're not factoring in the size of their chest mixed in. Like, should I be looking at their cheeks, their neck? This girl's probably going to be big. Didn't know how to gauge all that stuff when I was a teenager, and this was my first time I could say I was catfished, based on what people consider catfish is something you did not expect. You thought they were going to look different. Yeah, so I get there and I see that she's not looking like what I expected. The 300 pounds immediately made me want to turn back around. And this proves I'm not a complete psychopath, because I empathized with her. I said, if I turn around now, this is going to hurt this girl's feelings, even though I may never see her again. Something about myself made me stay. Something about that made me stay, just because I was thinking about her feelings just a little bit. She walks me into the house, but I'll tell you, as soon as I walked in, my attraction was completely gone. I just couldn't be attracted to, it was a catfish to me. She's showing me around the living room, kitchen. She's walking me through the house. And then she turns down the hallways towards the rooms. I'm following her. And at the end of the hallway, I can see her room all the way down on the hallway to the right. The light is on, door open. And then on the left, right across from her room, is a dark room. We get to the end of the hallway to where her room would be. I hear her mother call out from the room to the left, the dark room. So she knows I'm there, I guess. And this first time I'm even figuring out that we aren't home alone. My impression when I was coming over there, because of the way that we were texting and messaging the day before, it was, I'm coming over and we're just getting, you know how guys, we don't even think. We think that we just come over and we just start doing the thing. So that's what I thought, especially as a teenager. It's like, oh, I'm just going to show up, put it in, walk out, go home. That was it. Or maybe we chill. Who knows? Because I thought I like her physical looks, but I did not. Anyway, her mother's home, so new surprise for me. We get in, introduce ourselves. We walk in the room. We introduce ourselves. I introduced myself, and this was the first time I've ever seen this in my life. But like, all I saw at first before I walked into the room was like, it was a foot hanging off the bed. And no lie, when I walked in, it was all dark, and she had one of those my 600-pound life bodies. I'm not kidding. Like, this was the first time I ever seen this. She was like, stomach up, back down on the bed, big belly. She looked like she couldn't walk or move if she needed to. So that's what I mean by this. I'm not even telling the joke. I'm giving you the picture. And it was just completely dark room. Like, it seemed depressing. And now it also made sense why girl I came there to see was 300 pounds, because if her mom looks like my 600-pound lifer, then of course the daughter is going to take care of herself and be eating whatever the heck she wants. So I'm shocked now. I'm like, oh my gosh, so the girl's big, didn't know that. The mom's biggest I ever seen. It looks bedridden, didn't know that. So the mom, she's nice, she's polite. And I say who I am, and she treats me well, and she says, all right, y'all, you can go back in there. And she yells out when we leave, make sure y'all keep that door open. I'm like, okay. And now at the same time, I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I know that I'm not attracted to her. I know that we're probably not gonna do anything now. There's no way. Her mother's here. Why did she invite me here? She was talking to me like we were going to get down to it. All right, so we go to her room, and she's got the TV playing, and she sits me on the bed. She starts talking to me, and she kind of could tell I wasn't as interested in her. She could feel it. You know when you could feel people's energy, even though I was being nice and cordial. She felt the sexual energy that she was getting through text, because I guess I'm really good at portraying that like sexual energy, and especially in person too. Women can feel it without me saying certain things, you know, your mannerisms, the way you look at them. You don't have to say specific stuff, which is guys that lack experience with women don't realize that. You don't have to say specific things. Women can feel your energy. And so she could tell my energy was not of the like, I'm turned on by you still and I really like you. She got the friendship vibes from me. And so she could tell the feelings weren't the same, and she could tell I was playing. I was kind of lying to her, like trying to make a facade as if I was still very interested. So women can feel that, guys. When you lie to them, they can tell. A lot of times they know before they ask you any questions. And like I said, because they are very intuitive when it comes to feelings, that means they can also feel your energy. And so anyway, I pretend like I like her, so she goes along with it. And then eventually we turned the TV up just enough so that way if we made any sounds, her mother couldn't hear us, but we still kept the door open. All this while I'm wondering, why am I even going through with this at this point? Because I feel like I could come up with an out to leave at this point. And I still didn't. I'm not attracted to this woman. And this is something, if some of you women that are starting to find my videos, which the channel is for men, women, if you watch this far, guys can sleep with you without actually being attracted to you. If you haven't figured that out yet, and I know it's going to make you mad, but I'm not really here to entertain or please people too much. It's really me just sharing stuff I've learned in life based on my experiences. And guys, including myself, I have done this more than once. We can sleep with women without feelings attached. We can sleep with women that we're not attracted to. So you got to be careful. Just because a guy sleeps with you, hangs out with you, takes you on a date, all of this stuff, we can do all of that because we are animals. We will do whatever it takes to get to that thing that we want. We are straight up animals. We get rid of the human part of it sometimes, and it's something that, guys, we can help, but we're not trying to. It's our animal side of us that just naturally makes us do whatever it takes to get what we want. So she starts kissing me, and I can't believe I'm doing it because I know I'm not attracted to her. And it's like, why am I kissing when I'm not physically attracted to? Like, she's bigger, so like, I'm not gonna describe, never mind, I'm not gonna describe that. But anyway, next we decide, she's like, well, we can still do this. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. What do you mean? Like, we're whispering because of course we don't want to be heard. And she's like, we can still do this. I said, how? She said, come on this side of the bed. All right, so she says we can still do this. I said, how? She takes me around to the other side of her bed. That way, basically, I can be behind her and we both can be facing the doorway. And you know what? The reason I went through with this at this point is after seeing her mother laying in that bed, I rationalized it. So even though I'm doing dumb stuff, I'm thinking strategically. I say, you know what? There's no way that mom is going to get up and catch me. I don't think the mom can even get up. I believe if the mom gets up, she's going to need help. I was like, so there's no way, there's no possible way. As long as we are quiet, there's no way I'm going to get caught. And that was my rationale at the time. I didn't know it, but now it makes sense why I felt like, okay, I could do that. So she convinced me to go ahead and clap from behind while we're both facing the door. Go ahead and, you know, we do a little foreplay, take everything off. And, you know, I am protected. I'll tell you this, as a teenager, except the last video I uploaded where I had the ex-girlfriend, all of the times as a teenager that I did something, I did do what I was supposed to do. I made sure to have the raincoat. So I had that and get started. And my brain is thinking of all kinds of things at this time. Like, wow, this is the most human body I have ever seen at once on a person. Because I've never slept with a girl that was like 300 pounds. So I'm behind her. It's like the biggest underwear I've ever seen, the biggest everything. And I'm like, it's low key cool, but it's like not cool. It was just like it was a new stimulus for my mind of something I'd never seen. That's all I could say. And so I'm behind and I'm doing my thing and I'm just like, wow, this is a lot. And I don't know right now, did I enjoy it or not? I think it was half and half. It was more, I think it's all, that's why I call this like animal behavior. It was more that I was doing what I naturally felt, you know, as a guy, we do. So that part was, I guess you could say, happiness, but the rest of it was all the logic part that's still going on, like the room situation, the mother, the size of the woman, the catfish, the being quiet but trying to have the TV loud enough where the mother can't hear us, all of this going on, versus, you know, your typical situations, you don't have to worry about none of this stuff, but as an animal, you don't care. So that's why I say a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the bad decisions I made in my life was my animal brain beating out my logic brain. And I don't think that it's unusual for some people. I think it is something that happens to all of us at different parts of our lives, where your animal brain takes over. Because now you can be in a bad situation and you will wonder why you're not getting out of it, why you're not doing anything about it. And this is similar to what I was doing. And everybody makes different decisions, but I kept going, and she started making a little bit of noise. So I slid over and grabbed the remote while I'm still working back there. And I turned it up a little bit, kind of like, you gotta be quiet, you gotta be quiet. So I do my thing. She's making noise, she moans, she does her thing. So she seems like she enjoys it, basically. And then it's over, like 15 minutes, sweating, all that stuff, it's over. We go ahead and lay down in the bed, and she gets me a towel and stuff to, you know, I'm sweating and all this. And I'm just laying there, and I'm like, do I leave now or what? She can tell that I didn't want to stay for aftercare. This is before I knew what aftercare was, which now I do stay and offer aftercare services if needed. So she wanted that time, and I didn't realize that. So she could still feel like the non-tension of, you don't really like me, do you? And that's when we both kind of came to reality. She was looking like sad now, because she knew, like, oh man, I'm probably not going to see you again, am I? And I didn't confirm anything, but I'm trying to spare her feelings instead of telling her the truth at the time. And we sit there and talk for like 10 minutes until she realizes this ain't going to go nowhere. And then we decide, let's get up, and she'll walk me out. She was still cool with me, like in a way, like in a friendship way, but she knew that, hey, this guy's not going to want to stay with me for a relationship. So while we were walking out, she was like, hey, I'm going to introduce you to my uncle real quick. And I'm like, what the hell? Your uncle was here also? So another person in the house the whole time that could have just really walked in because the door was open. Remember that? She takes me down to the basement, introduces me to her uncle that also lives there, and he seems really cool. But I'm just like, what what is going on here? And why does this girl have so much freedom? Like, this lets you know right here, as parents, you can't trust your daughters. And it's hard to say. You can't really restrict them from everything because they're going to sneak and do the same stuff. So it's like you can't win. If you have a daughter, you're screwed. You're screwed. That's all I can say after telling this story, all the other stories. I have other one-night stand stories. This is just the first one that kicked it off, and it wasn't enough to shy me away from doing this type of behavior for the rest of my life. So take what you can from this story. Maybe there's something you could learn from it. But yeah, that is the first time that I had a one-night stand.